which I may clip out and save as a separate video for after our GT.
Oh, I see how it is.
Absolutely. Is
you've done work
because you're going to be judging for it. I trust that you're not going to spread this everywhere. But yes. So Jacques.
But go on.
So throughout Struggle 2 and Struggle 3, there is basically a 2 in 3 chance of the corner points being active. So the nice thing about the Struggle 1 objective that we got was going for those corner points does set you up for Struggles 2 and 3. Now
that's a huge learning. That's really good.
Now the thing is, in Struggle 2, the corner points are like, each point is like a 33% chance. These points are 50 or like, I think they're 50-50.
Okay.
So they are slightly more common. But the other way that I've looked at it is
50-50.
is because there's too many points, right? There's 13 objectives. You can't hold all of them. Right?
Or hold the terrain either, apparently.
So that's a thing that I'll have to think about when setting this up. I should probably weight that tower. Anyway, so I did a little thought experiment and went, okay, what happens if I hold these 3 points and those 3 points?
Like basically ignore the center line and just go for the...
Yeah, because the center line is less likely.
Yeah.
The center point, sure,
there's one card where
the center point.
Yeah.
And then the other card where it's either those two or these two.
Yeah.
So if you completely ignore those, and I stripped it down to even just the outside 3 on the sides. So on this, I'm holding either 2 or 2. Start of the struggle. This one, either this one 4.
Yeah, you get all 4 if you've managed to hold the sides.
Yeah,
which is entirely possible if people have been like rushing the middle.
Yeah, and if you're not holding one, like Dengar was wounded.
Yeah.
Well,
sure.
You're still getting 3. Anyway, this is the worst option for that.
Sure.
Because you're either getting 2 or nothing.
I think something you've go.
So if you can also put yourself in between these and grab one or both, then all of a sudden on that you are starting with 2.
Yeah.
Either way,
2 middles. If it
So,
that's actually really interesting.
So because what happened was there was one video where actually I was trying the bounty hunters against my Dooku Townsend list, and the game, the Dooku Townsend lost the game because they started leaving the corners, and the bounty hunters eventually, I'm going to take it down anyway.
Okay.
But, the bounty hunters swapped into those points, and that was the point where the bounty hunters started winning the game. So that's where I went, okay, there's something about these corner points that I should look at closer. So that's Struggle 2 is like basically that way, because people are looking at this like it's totally chaotic. There's like you got to shift all over the place.
But it's not actually.
It's not actually.
That was the thing I was about to say with like, I think you've just you've commented on like a really fascinating part about this, which is, you're right. I think when you look at this mode initially, it's like, this is pure chaos. It's all pure reaction.
Yeah.
But what you've actually done is you've pointed out that unlike most other struggles where it's like, man, I really hope this layout comes out.
Yeah.
You've sort of found a place where like,
I've got a 2 or 3 chance. But depending on what layout's already out.
Yeah.
It's either a 50-50 or basically a 100% chance of it being favorable.
Exactly. And like 50-50 being your worst option is great.
Yeah.
That's money. Yeah. That's a really astute finding.
And it is the same ish in Struggle 3, except in Struggle 3 it's the midline that has less chances of being active. But if you shift so that you're now holding these 3 points on both sides.
Yeah, so you go from brackets to, I guess, other brackets.
Now it's 3 or 3.
Yeah.
Again, this is first assuming we're not controlling these ones. 3 or 3. This is the worst one.
Yeah, that's
which is 2 or
so that's
this one's 2-2.
Yeah.
This one is 4, or if the other person gets it, 0. So that's where again you do want to be
like kind of in the
like
middle.
if you can trying for this, so that this layout is either 4 or 2 for you. And so in each of those cases, you're starting with half of the objectives or more again.
And I think quite crucially for RGT, I don't think people have puzzled that out yet. Which is so super strong.
Yeah, so because looking at the probabilities of each objective as a whole doesn't show you that. It shows you that in Struggle 2, the midline is less likely, and in Struggle 3, that is less likely.
But in the aggregate.
And also, during the game, when you're looking at even the possible objectives individually, you also may not realize that. Like, you might go, oh, this one's not, like, this one's okay for me right now, this one's good or bad for me if I swap the objectives. If you haven't set up saying, no, I'm holding these, and then you know, like, okay, whenever we flip a card, it's going to be favorable for me.
Yeah.
No matter what.
I like that idea of like trying to stay ahead. I think something else I realized in this mode in particular, which I didn't sort of clue into until just this very second, is that in every other mission deck, the ideal place for you to be on any objective is dead center on it. It's the hardest to shove you off, blah, 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 blah. But here, that actually is a problem. Because you may need to leave, or you may need to cover multiple objectives, and that is more valuable than being harder to be shoved off.
Yeah. When there's less changes throughout the game, you obviously like, okay, a new struggle has just flipped up. I want to be on the center of the points.
Yeah, maybe I want to like be ready to get to a different struggle layout. And
you can start leaning that way at the end.
At the end, but during, you're like, no, I'm gonna plant my feet here, and like, it didn't dawn on me until like just this moment where I was like, oh, yeah, like you were very good at like holding multiple positions, and like by taking like, I'm gonna say suboptimal, but not really suboptimal, like optimal for this mission pack, which is very cool. Like I think what you want out of a new mission is to like change the way you play the game, and this mission definitely does that.
Yeah. The problem is, once I actually put that out into the world, and then everyone focuses on mainly fighting for those points, then that obviously is going to change how things go, because then now everybody. But that's where
this is like a test case, like
that's where my game against Matt, I was keeping that in mind, and like as we talked about in the video, like there were some issues with like the list itself that it ran into. But yeah, so I think that's where right now I'm of the opinion that that understanding of the mission is more crucial than your list building, because like this team, like it leaned into being sticky, and grief as a tiebreaker is actually perfect for just holding a back corner point.
Absolutely.
Because usually one person is being sent across the board to take those back points, and he just says, well, I break ties. So,
yeah, it's hard to commit 2 bodies in a map like this.
And that's where I think that Talzin is still good with this map, because you want people that you're holding back.
Yeah, she's a great backliner.
Yeah.
And that she happens to be one of the backliners that can like move around and maybe chip some damage is super helpful.
Yeah. So yeah, but until everybody gets to that realization, it's going to be difficult to actually assess, is this team good on this map mode or not?
Yeah. Plus, you might go through an entire GT and never play this mission. Right?
Well, that's true.
If you don't,
if I don't win the roll off.
Yeah, which is a complete crapshoot.
Yeah. But yeah.
I think that's still like.
I mean, it's a 50-50.
Yeah, exactly.
On
It's
that.
Knowing this is super handy. Plus, your opponents might not, so they may just walk into this mission themselves. But like, if your team can play into other missions,
Yeah.
and then like,
So that's the big, yeah.
exactly, yeah. On the missions where you do get to win and pick the layout, and you probably, I'd say you have a very strong lock on those, especially for the first GT before people are puzzled to death. Like, that's not bad. That's really quite good.
Yeah. So yeah, I obviously had to test those 2 lists on odds. I mean, Moff Thrawn, they're obviously good at odds.
Yeah, shocking.
But I think I do also think that Dooku Talzin is better on odds than people think. I initially kind of assumed that they weren't as well. That being said, also I haven't played a game against a strong, like a top table level item before. I actually, at the GT I went to in Seattle there, somebody was running item Vader.
Sure.
But they were new, like that. I think that was their first tournament kind of thing.
Sure.
And I actually also it was on Sabdar Showdown, but yeah, Dooku Talzin gave them the feels bads, because literally I had 4 points, like I had my half of the board on shifting priorities, so my 2 back, 2 middle. Vader has to get a wound. Dooku and Jango are sitting on the point. So Vader has to wound Jango in order to make it 2-1. Except there's a Magna Guard that can dash down onto that point and prevents the flip.
I thought, and then just the extra gradient, oh yeah, then Talzin can maybe come in and just zap someone for 6 damage.
She was across the board.
Sure.
But by that point, Talzin and Savage had actually bullied Iden and wounded her.
I like the only problem I tend to find with Dooku in general, I am someone who really likes Dooku. But once the supports get wounded, it's a problem. Because there goes the... If you can keep your supports alive, and you manage to just like, oh yeah, I'm going to cheekily dash one of my supports onto a point, it's devastating.
Yeah, that is the better thing, of course. But that's with Dooku Talzin, I have B2s, not the Night Sisters.
Yeah.
So that he has a ranged option.
Yeah.
To at least get a shot off.
Yeah.
It actually
B2s are what? 8 health with protection?
8 health protection.
So that's pretty tanky.
So that's the other thing about the list. Talzin, as you saw, good defense, 10 health.
Yeah.
Dooku is Dooku, 11.
Yeah.
Good defense. Savage and Kraken is what I'm doing now. 10 health, steadfast protection. Mega Guards, 10 health. Decent defense.
Yeah.
B2s, 8 health protection.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot to chew through.
Yeah.
So when they kind of get to a point where they're like, oh no, I need to start getting wounds. And that also leads to the not always thinking through what's going to happen in response. Because it's like, well, I really got to be wounded stuff. Like that's what I have to do. That's what this list does. So,
exactly. I think a lot of the metas have shifted into like, I think it's really interesting seeing how like prevalent Kanan has been because people like, I'm ISF go burger, you know, like I'm just gonna like get wounds, and it's like, I think there's just a very simple math you have to do of like, as anyone watching this video will know, like getting one wound is pointless if you on the net lose more.
Right. Yeah. So. Anyway.
I guess, I could see Kraken. I think I'd say something about the list that the softest target you have in there is B2s.
Yeah.
Like 8 health with protection are the squishiest of them.
And that's the thing, testing the list on odds and this, it was like, okay, the global movement is definitely an important factor on both of those, and being sticky on the points. So at this point, Django is not that.
Yeah, right.
He actually becomes the squishy target.
Yeah.
And
no steadfast.
the one that has a certain bubble to his ability to affect points.
Yeah.
As well, ironically.
And plus, like, you already have a form of Dice's displacement from Mother Talzin.
True.
So Django's a great character.
Yeah.
But I find that he mostly sings in lists where you have like, I'm running mostly droids, so I don't have any access to like someone who can I'm taking like Grievous Dooku. It's like, okay, yeah, Django kind of makes sense here because you don't have a Dice situation. Yeah. But yeah, I think if you've got one. And like something that I really like about Talzin, especially in a meta where you see so much ice stuff, and probably Dark Troopers, because Dark Troopers are so good. AMG, if you're listening, Dark Troopers are too good.
As you saw by the last half of that game, you just played.
yeah, exactly. Like crit mitigation, and they cannot be pushed. But hey, guess what? Mother Talzin is just like, no, I'm not pushing you.
Yeah.
You're taking a walk.
Yeah.
Take a walk, son. Yeah. And like that's great. Like what a wonderful way around that, and that it's something that has been out for ages. I especially like. I really like it when games have situations where it's like, yeah, this is a thing that you need to. Hey, there you go. It's like, hey, there's a thing that you need to solve, and the solution isn't go buy the latest box.
Right.
Sometimes it's like, oh yeah, no, you've had the solution sitting in your closet for ages, actually, and that's great.